Anyways, go ahead, Big. Frank Reich. He just got fired. First year head coach.
Yeah, first year head coach. I think despite
he's technically not first year head coach.
But for the Panthers.
Yeah.
He's a proven head coach with great, with solid NFL coaching experience. And while he has not produced a consistent playoff contender team, I think that he has a lot to offer for a young quarterback, provided he has the necessary time in order to grow and develop that prospect. And I think that this move, considering that roster, was a premature move. I can see if maybe perhaps there was some differences between the, maybe the coaching staff and ownership. Yeah, sure, I can understand a move under those pretenses. However, this was an immature move. I don't like it. I think that, new first year quarterback, high overall draft pick, this could have happened to almost any coach. And I just think that it's premature, and it's indicative of how bad the Panthers organization is. I mean, those guys haven't won anything since Cam Newton's been there. And you know what? They're going to continue to lose because they're going to keep hiring and having the lack of faith and patience in what it takes to develop a prospect like a Bryce Young, because he has all the talent. He has the arm talent. He has the speed. He can make every – well, I don't think he can make every throw, but he's certainly very, very talented. And he's an NFL quarterback. Now, whether he was NFL ready when he came into the door is, that's a matter of opinion. But I don't think that you're going to last or grow your organization or have a winning culture by firing your coach after one season. And mid-season at that, they didn't even give him a full season. So we're just beyond the midway point, and you're firing your head coach. Absolutely immature. I don't like it. This is why the Panthers organization stinks.
Nah, I agree. Yeah, premature as far as giving him an actual shot because of how bad that team is. It's just blaming the coach for how bad a team is because, let's face it, whoever they bring in next is going to have the same exact problems because they have not fixed the actual issue. But
yeah, I don't think Frank Reich is a very great coach. He hasn't really had any success on his other teams. I don't think he should be fired midway through the season. I feel like, obviously, if you're going to fire him at the end of the year until he's fully proven himself. I mean, the Panthers roster is really bad. It's kind of hard to coach a team like that. So, I mean, but a lot of coaches get fired. But I don't think he should have been fired in the middle of the year. I don't think he was doing anything that any other coach would have done with that roster.
And and to an extent I agree, and I do agree with Elmo. I don't know if he's necessarily proven anything as far as at an NFL level as a head coach. He absolutely has experience, and he's absolutely got that under his belt. Obviously, has a Super Bowl with the Eagles there, but as a head coach, I don't know if he's actually won anything. And I do want to I do feel bad. Oh. Go ahead.
It definitely could be something internal. There could be some differences between coaching in the coaching staff or in the organization itself that we don't know.
Well, that's another thing.
Firing,
I talked about this. Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud. That's the guy that he wanted in the draft. The organization wanted Bryce Young, so they had that indifference. They ended up taking Bryce Young. Obviously that's tough when the head coach can't get the guy he wants. So you still have to live, right? You still have to, try to compete with who the owner or the GM gives you. And it happened to be Bryce Young. It's a tough situation because he was the number one pick. He was still projected to be in their mind, the best guy for them in that situation at that moment. I think one of Bryce Young's flaws, or I don't necessarily see, I didn't think this was one of his flaws, but I think a lot of people talk about this. Obviously his height, right? Not the tallest dude in the world. And the fact that he was behind that Alabama O-line, which is some of the best lineman prospects in college. So what I had seen is that people were saying that he needs an O-line to go through his progressions. He's great at going through his progressions, but it's when that time gets to him it's hard for him to make that read.
Yeah, every quarterback needs a good O-line to go through their
And no, yeah,
Whatever.
and this is what I'm gonna go with the general manager. It's general manager himself. Obviously, I think it's a different general manager from when they drafted a couple, obviously the past couple of years. But they drafted high. They drafted what's his name, Ickham. They drafted a tackle like top 5, top 7 or something like a couple of years ago, and he just hasn't worked out. That's not on Frank Reich, right? That's on whoever drafted him. They have that. Obviously, the talent they brought with Bryce Young, they traded DJ Moore out of there. So who's he supposed to throw it to? 96-year-old Adam Thielen?
Yeah.
They got Hayden Hurst, who's also 30 plus. Mingo's looked okay. They drafted him this year. I can't think of anybody else on that team at the moment. I just they haven't done well with bringing talent as well. But at the same time, Bryce Young's looked really bad. I haven't even seen flashes.
I think if you put a decent, I'm just saying, bare bones decent O-line in front of him and give him a couple targets, Bryce Young's a different quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. If he has got some better people up front and the better targets. But I'm gonna be honest, I think that the play calling situation was all Frank Reich. I know regardless the talent's not there, the O-line's not there, but I also don't like the play calling from Frank Reich himself. So that I do agree that I don't think Frank Reich maybe should have been fired midway through the season, give him the full season and maybe an off season to work with. But at the same time, if the general manager, the owner are going to argue with the head coach on who the head coach wants, was he ever going to succeed in the first place? If he's not getting the guys that he wants, you know what I mean? And he took back the play calling role of the offense. So he was still calling. He called the offense after I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. So he took the role back, and I still didn't see anything from that offense, even little flashes. Like Bryce Young hasn't looked great, and yes, it could be because of the talent around him, but I also think that the play calling from Frank Reich himself wasn't great.
So I was just looking here, and I came across a tweet, and unfortunately, I can no longer find it on X. And it actually is a quote from the owner, specifically talking about one of the things you had just mentioned, and that's the issue as to whether or not Bryce Young was the coach's choice. And it was, according to the tweet, that it was a unanimous decision that Bryce Young was their guy. So
have you seen the tweet? Have you seen the tweet where they wanted to trade back to 2 because they thought the Texans they wanted to trade with the Texans. They wanted to trade back with the Texans who were at 2 to drop up to 1 because they thought that they were going to take Bryce Young. Have you seen that tweet?
No, and that's where I'm saying this is an interesting debate because you're having the owner saying one thing, and to me, unanimous to me is not the same as this is the coach's guy, right? Because it could be a unanimous between the owner and the general manager and maybe some other guys in the front office. But if the coach is saying, hey, you know what, this guy CJ is a better prospect, I think he's our guy, and you're pulling rank. That can certainly create a little bit of what Elmo said
animosity.
Is that division. Yeah, sure, absolutely. That division between coach and owner where which basically could have put him on a short leash. So, again, I disagree with the move. Frank Reich hasn't been great. He was good with the Eagles. I saw a lot of development with the Jalen Hurts while he was there. And I think that he could have worked with, even as just having an offensive-minded head coach there, he could have really helped at least the development of that young quarterback. And I know that even with C.J. Stroud, this was one of the concerns that they have is, do you have the personnel around him in order to develop it? And you know what? They do. And I think that Frank White, if he wasn't the guy at the end of the season, there could have been a sort of a transition. Now he's got to go into games, having probably to learn a whole new style of how the coach calls the game, and that can certainly, affect his growth.
I can't remember. I just remember seeing Jim Caldwell's name. I don't know if he's their pass game coordinator. I just remember I seen something about Jim Caldwell. I know he's with the organization. I'm not sure if he's going to be stepping up as to be the new OC at the moment. He's not going to be the interim head coach, but I think he's going to be the new OC. If I remember correctly. Right. I'm going to look it up just to make sure, but I remember seeing Jim Caldwell's name. And senior assistant Jim Caldwell will be special advisor to the offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. So he's not going to be the OC. It looks like Thomas Brown, who took over some of the play calling duties earlier in the year, will be the OC, but Jim Caldwell will be kind of helping him along with that. And Jim Caldwell's got some years on him. He's a veteran coach. But overall, do you guys think this firing hurts or helps Bryce Young?
I'm sure it hurts him. I mean, it's obviously going to hurt the whole team when you're bouncing around head coaches like that.
But it will say they, then obviously this is probably not going to happen because it's so hard to find these type of guys. Say they mess around and find the next Mike McDaniel, right? Offensive guy that comes from a very popular system, and he's able to make something great as far as offensive schemes go. Like, do you think that helps Bryce Young if they do that?
Well, yeah, it can help him like that. Mm-hmm. But so far, like in a lot of teams, it's like just bouncing head coaches every year. And I mean, obviously, they can find a coach that can stick around and do good on the organization, but a lot of times they don't get that.
Oh, a lot of the time,
unless they get a guy from a good organization that's ready to become a head coach. Not just kind of thrown into it because someone gave him a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Mitch, what do you think? Helps or hurts?
Definitely does help him. We'll see if it hurts him or if things stay about the same. But yeah, it's definitely much more likely to hurt him than help him, I think.
I'll let Big go last. I think it does hurt him for this year, but I think throughout his career it might actually help him. Again, it kind of depends on who they pick up after this. But I think for this year it hurts him because it's almost like a throwaway year. And obviously a rookie year is supposed to, you're supposed to try to progress to become an NFL, especially a quarterback. You want to try to progress and become an NFL player. You're basically getting your first year thrown out the window. So his rookie year is going to really be next year, which sucks for his progression. But I think if he gets the right coach and they start getting some talent around him, I think it could help him eventually.
That's assuming they don't get the number 1 overall pick and go after Williams.
They can't. They traded it to the Bears.
Okay, all right.
They're stuck with Young for at least, if he continues the way he's going, he's stuck with them for at least 1 more year.
Okay. I rest my case.
And you know what's crazy? I don't know if we'll go too much into this. I don't think they needed to trade DJ Moore to get that first pick. I kind of feel like the Bears fleeced the Panthers. I don't think they needed the DJ Moore to be thrown in there. I feel like DJ Moore would have really helped Bryce Young this year, but
I agree. And I like Thielen, but I think that if he had Thielen along with DJ Moore, along with a solid tight end, I think we could have, he could have made some noise.
Mm-hmm. I just think I just in this kind of this makes me kind of question the Panthers like ownership at this point, like with all the stuff I'm kind of hearing. So I don't know. It's a new owner, obviously, new owner, new all that kind of stuff. We'll have to see how it goes the next couple of years. But man, it's not looking too hot.
No, it's not.
Well, that's all I had to kind of say about Frank Reich. Do you guys feel like we'll say this is the last question I really have. Do you guys feel like he finds a way to be a new head coach for a different team?
No.
I'm with you.
I think he gets picked up as obviously a assistant coach of some sort.
Coordinator or something. No.
Yeah.
Coordinator.
As offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe he wants to take a year off or something too. I mean, that could help refresh him.